Well, thanks, and hi, everybody. Some recent research said that two-thirds of independent retailers said they expect their customers to come in and ask them why their prices are going up. Half the retailers surveyed said they have no idea what they're going to do about that. So seems like tariffs, there could be some interest in this. So we thought we were going to talk about flower arranging and color trends, but we're going to talk about tariffs. So I'm Warren Shoulberg, a business journalist. To my immediate left, Mary Liz Curtin, who has a fabulous specialty store in the Detroit metropolitan area called Leon and Lulu. Satya Tiwari, who is CEO of Surya, and Doug Coffiel, CEO of Ivystone, and I'm going to let them give you a 30-second overview of their companies. We're going to talk about tariffs. We're going to talk about trade. We're going to complain, and maybe we'll have a couple of solutions for you as well. So we welcome questions, comments, rebuttals, anything you want to jump in and add. This is being recorded, so you can, if you didn't get enough of us in person, you can get us virtually later today or as the week goes on. So just curious, the folks that are here, how many are retailers? How many are vendors? How many are reps? And how many don't know who they are? Okay. So I think we're going to start with the two companies that are on the supply side, and we'll start with Doug. Doug, give us 30 seconds on Ivystone, and then tell us how you are changing your business model because of tariffs. And I should say that I didn't check my X feed this morning, so I don't know if anything has changed today. But as of yesterday, just be grateful you're not in the copper business. So, Doug, tell us about Ivystone and tell us what you're doing.
Okay, thanks, Warren. So Ivystone's a national sales agency, so we're representing multiple companies. We also own One Coast as well, and Symbolist Groups, if you know any of those agencies. So we represent over 100 companies in total, so we have a pretty broad perspective on what's going on. Business model-wise, because we're really the service side, the primary thing we're doing is trying to educate. So we haven't changed much of our procedures or anything like that. It's more to do with just following through with all the retailers, making sure they know that there's lots of different levels here of timing issues with both tariffs and price increases, what that looks like, depending on when the goods landed, all that kind of stuff, just lots of education. So our biggest thing we've changed is just our process. We're not selling directly right away anymore. We're usually going through like a period of time where we're just explaining what's going on with our primary vendors before we even get started.
And you represent companies on the gift side and on the home side. So any differences or kind of people dealing with it the same?
Yeah, so there's kind of three, I guess is the right way to say it. So we do gift and home. And so on the gift side, you would lump seasonal in there most of the time. So the seasonal business was the most affected. You probably saw the most information coming from the seasonal companies, and that was because a large percentage of the business is booked before any tariff announcements happened. So because the business was already booked, you had to change the policy. So that's where a lot of the surcharges and things like that came from. So that's mostly on the gift side. On the home side, in general, it all had to do with items that were maybe brought out in January that hadn't shipped yet. But for the most part, if they were brought out at the start of the year, a lot of that funneled into a price increase for the second half rather than a tariff surcharge. And that's the primary difference in what we saw.
Okay, and we'll get into a few more specifics. But Satya, tell us about Surya and how you are, as a company, are dealing with all of this.
Awesome. Thank you, Warren. So my name is Satya Tiwari. I'm CEO of Surya. Surya family business started in India in 1976 as a manufacturer of rugs. Today we are broader than rugs. We are wholesale business. We bought several brands. Global Views is one of them, and Mitchell Gold Bob Williams. So today a big chunk of our business is dealing with retailers and interior design community throughout the country in multiple product category. And on going back on tariff, as a wholesaler, we buy products from all over the world. India and Turkey have been our biggest country where I feel like there's a little bit of stability. Now, Vietnam and China was the most impacted. We haven't done any major price increase yet because we don't know where things are going to end up. So we don't want to do continuous price review. And as a stockist, we always try to keep 8 to 10 months of inventory of future sales. So we don't have to react on a daily feeds. So I feel like we are anxiously waiting what will happen after August 1st, which country will get to what resolution. And at the end of the day, most tariff, it's another form of tax on the product. We will, as on the service side, obviously, you're not directly impacted, but the product, it will get added up. Now, the higher end the product, it's easier. The lower end the product is a lot more difficult. And so it's a world that we feel like we're all in it together. We're going to figure it out. The positive, I would say, is there's so much discussion going on a daily. Most consumers are aware of this, so it's not a surprise to anyone. The prices will be impacted. So it's not a sudden thing. It's going slowly. So I feel like it will be a lot easier to have these discussions with our customers.
Did you load up on inventory before all of this, and were you carrying more than you normally would?
Great question. So when Trump won in November, we knew we'll have impact on China only. So there's certain product that after the first tariff in 2016, Vietnam got a big increase in business, obviously India, Mexico. But what we didn't realize that the impact and the scope will be so much wider. So we over-ordered on lighting out of China. So lighting didn't really move to India or Vietnam. Furniture did. So certain categories that we bought from China that hadn't moved prior, we bought an extra 6 months on our top sellers. But what we didn't realize, Vietnam will be impacted, India will be impacted. So we did load up on certain SKUs that came out of China, but not other countries. Now, as a wholesaler, we always keep next 8 months of inventory, so we don't have to react next day. So we were buffered a little bit. China, we're extra buffered, but not as wide as we should have been.
Okay, and I've been in Satya's distribution center, and I can vouch for the fact that there's a lot of stuff in there at any given time. So you've always been able to service that very well. You also deal with a lot with interior designers. So any differences in how that side of the business is coping?
Yeah, I think, Surya before was good, better, best. We took the good out of Surya, put it under different brands. So we sell to Wayfarers of the world, to Home Depot. That brand is under Livabliss. Now Surya is purely now better, best. So we are catering to interior design community or design-driven retailers. I think at the higher end, because we have such a wideness of product, and it's not been as impactful in terms of pricing, and we are so distributed in a wide SKU assortment. It's been a little easier, I would say, and we're bringing a lot more newness. So newer products are getting priced in with the future tariff. And now we're guesstimating. India, we don't know if it'll be 10% or 30%. Yeah. So we are averaging at 15%. So I feel like in the interior design world, it has not been as much of a challenge. The challenge has been more on the medium or lower end because they're so price sensitive. So we are bringing product that, every day where we are pricing with the future tariff. So it's not been as of an issue.
And you said that, you started as a supplier of products from India, and you said you've adjusted that to other countries, but then you kind of got thrown a curveball with Vietnam and India. So you're still kind of shifting, or?
Great question. I think we always said we are country agnostic and we want to bring the best product from all over the world. Now with tariff, we have to make some decision. Do we do lighting in Vietnam versus China? Do we do outdoor? We just launched a great high-end outdoor line in High Point. They were made in China. Now those factories are moving to Vietnam. Now they were thinking about Philippines. Now Cambodia, anyone that moved to Cambodia is not that happy today.
Yeah.
So we obviously we're looking at everywhere in the world, but what we don't know what tomorrow will be like. Like, Mexico was great. Now Mexico, as of 2 days ago, is not that great. So we feel like the tariff is going to be beyond our control. We can't really manage that. But let's go all over the world, work with the best craftsmanship. Now our vendors and your resources, they're also thinking about this, right? So we're not alone, no wholesaler in this building. We have hundreds of great vendors who are multi-generational. They are a lot more in tune with this, and we have partners all over the world. They're trying to figure out, hey, let's be in 3 countries versus 1 country, because we don't know which 2 countries will have higher tariff. So we country agnostic, but we have to make some decision. Like we were thinking about going to Cambodia in a big way. Now we're not because of the tariff today. So we can't think about what Trump will do tomorrow. It's above our pay grade. So we're all over the world we're working in.
And it's not so much what will happen tomorrow, it's this afternoon, right?
Yeah,
I mean, the day is still young. Doug, do you see some of the companies that you work with moving their production from one country to another? Is it sort of in flux, or?
There's a lot in flux. So I'd say the variation is primarily driven by the you all know the vendors with a lot of SKUs. So if you're broad SKU and you already had a base of countries, you see more movement there because they actually knew somebody already in all those different countries. So we see that movement constantly. We had to the Mexico example, we have 2 major suppliers that are all Mexico now, and that's not been easy. So it's not product that can be made in the States. We don't have the capability for it. So they settled on Mexico, and that erratic nature of that policy has been difficult. So same situation. People move Vietnam, Cambodia, they're now not sure about that decision. So
yeah, erratic is a nice way to put it. Yes, definitely. So Mary Liz, it didn't forget about you.
I don't think for a second you'd ever forget about me.
We didn't put you up here just for eye candy. So as a independent retailer, what are you doing differently to try to cope with all of this?
Well, we're trying to cry less, which has been a big thing for my receiving department. I've been really impressed with the support that we've had from our vendors, the number of vendors who are taking lower margins and hoping to get their retailers through it as well as themselves. We are also taking lower margins on things when we have to because we don't know if the invoice that we're getting for something this month is going to be higher or lower or even exist in 2 months for a reorder. So we've reacted by really spending quite a lot of money at the front end of the year. Our warehouse is full, and I've spent it on a lot of little crap, which of course is the lifeblood of our business, so that's okay. But we bought a lot of the small Christmas ornaments, small Christmas gifts and stocking stuffers, and all that junk that we usually wouldn't be taking in until August and September, we started bringing in February. So our financials are all screwed up. We've spent money that wasn't ready to be spent yet because we didn't exactly have it, but that's okay. And now we're stuck with the pricing and trying to figure out where we price it because it's not just that one invoice. If I reprice something, well, not I personally, if we reprice something, that means that we have to reprice 3,000 pieces of it on the floor and then reprice it should it change and change it through everything. So we're taking a wait-and-see attitude as much as we can. Our biggest issue is what's going to happen with our seasonal goods. And we were very lucky we weren't impacted by any major closures. But we've received price increases of anywhere from 4.8 to 18% on the orders that we placed in January. We can't turn our backs on our vendors, even as they can't turn their backs on us, so we're absorbing it. And we're going to have a lower margin on Christmas, but I think that that'll somewhat balance by the fact that I don't think that we're going to have as much inventory because I don't think we're going to be able to get it. So I think our sell-through will probably be stronger. But we're determined that, by golly, we're Americans, and no matter what a mess we're in, Christmas is going to come. But it might come late and it might be limping a little bit, but we will have a good Christmas, and I firmly believe that the stores that have the goods will triumph, as we always have at the times when other people are supply constrained. But it is, as everyone else says, you wake up in the morning and wonder, oh, that was a good idea. Who came up with that one? You know, we can't make long-term plans. So we're building up our inventories, as I just said, and we'll continue to do so. We're also very appreciative, and I know I said this before, but the vendors who have done such a good job of trying to protect the independent retailer really deserve more accolades than they're probably getting, because somebody said, well, what are you going to talk about? I said, well, I think we'll just all sit up there and spend an hour saying, beats me, because we don't know what it's going to be like this afternoon, and we just get along as best we can. But that's how we're handling it. Buy more.
Buy more.
Hope for the best.
So I know we talked, I think, at High Point, and that was right after the tariffs the first round of tariffs had been announced. And I know you said you told your buyers to go out and buy anything for Christmas that wasn't nailed down, that was in the country now, pre-tariff. Did that turn out to be a lot of goods or not so
No,
much?
it did not.
Okay.
Turned out that most of us buy product that is produced to order, so there's not a lot of leftovers. We did scoop up some. You know, we were happy to have more things that'll have a decent margin in them for Christmas. We also carry a wide range of product. We sell furniture, custom upholstery, case goods, women's ready-to-wear, gifts, everything from a 75-cent racing rat to, you know, a multi-$1,000 sofa and vintage pieces. So we're all over the place, and we have vendors in every category and vendors who are bringing product from every country. I'm not noticing a lot of customer price resistance yet, but I think a lot of people don't even notice it, because if you had to buy a new charger for your phone, you don't know that that's $5 more than it was 6 weeks ago because you didn't buy one 6 weeks ago. So I think we're going to have a slowly rising awareness on the public's part as all of a sudden they find something that impacts them personally in purchasing, much as they might notice that the hospital down the street from them in many rural areas will soon be closing. I think we're going to see more and more consumer backlash to the policies as it hits people, but I think it's hitting them one by one, slowly. But there's always going to be that one thing that tips you over because you can't afford to buy doesn't matter what it is.
And yeah, Satya.
And one thing, Mitchell Gold Bob Williams, made in America in North Carolina, but you'll be surprised things that are made in the US also get impacted by tariff. The fabrics are coming from China or India. Some of the components are coming from China. So things that are 100% made in America also have high price increases because of the supply chain, the components, and the raw material. So there's a misconception that you can make it here at better price. I mean, forget about labor. We have labor and talent issues, but we get impacted on made in America business as well in a big way.
And the whole thing is kind of fascinating. During the pandemic, we had one upholstery vendor who had trouble shipping because they couldn't source twine. And that one little thing, the twine that you think you should be able to get at Home Depot, shut down their line for several weeks because they couldn't get their hands on it. So the whole interconnected world that we've built so hard on pulling together and building this global economy is being shattered, and we just don't know how it's going to end up.
Well, is anybody seeing a return to U.S. production, or companies talking more about reshoring? Doug, with all of your companies you work with, not so much?
Not so much.
Not so much.
No. There's some people adjusting certain things they can do easily. For example, if they could bring in blanks and do customization, embroidery, like that kind of stuff, we see a little bit of that where they're doing some processing in the States. Makes it a little easier to adjust on the fly, but we haven't seen anybody completely shift back to the States.
Well, and as Satya mentioned, even if it's a made in the USA product, like Mitchell and Bob sofas, the fabrics, lots of other components come from overseas, right?
Yeah, and I think, made in America, I think we can make iPhones here maybe, we can make semiconductor, but furniture is a very tedious, at Mitchell Gold Factory, the upholsterer, not everyone can upholster. You got to have certain body strength, you got to have certain level of expertise to do it right. I just don't think made in this tariff will help our industry in a big way. There may be other industries. I mean, we should be making NVIDIA chips here and iPhone here, but I don't think our world I'm seeing any more today than 10 years ago.
Right. The big categories here, obviously domestic side, you'd say bath and body, wax, so all the most of the candle business is here, and then food.
But they still need a container to put the candle
Right.
in, and
So
that's probably not
so
from here.
food is all done here, right? But the packaging, most of the time, is not here. So they're all getting price increases, to Satya's point.
And I know, Mary Liz, you try to buy local maker products. Is that a strategy, or?
We have always bought things from emerging vendors and from local people because I firmly believe if you don't buy these guys when they're starting, they're never going to get to be someplace like Surya in 30 years. But we've always bought them. They're being affected, but it's very small dollars. It's still important to support them. It's still important to have those local craftspeople and small domestic producers. It doesn't seem to be making that much difference to them, but many of them, frankly, don't run their businesses in a particularly professional fashion, so they don't know. And they weren't making, frankly, a lot of them weren't making any money last year, so they're just making a little less, no money this year. I know that sounded kind of harsh.
Harsh, but the truth is awfully harsh, yes. And I know you talked about labor as well with upholstery, but there's a cookware company, All-Clad, that's been making their cookware in Pennsylvania for 100 years, and it's wonderful stuff, but they say they can't get enough people to work in the factory to make pots and pans. And so I think even if you were able to figure out the materials and the components, you still can't find people to do this, right? Particularly upholsterers.
Yeah, I mean, labor, definitely, there's a big shortage. The price of labor, I mean, I was talking to someone earlier today. In Georgia, we used to pay $3 a square foot rent for a warehouse 10 years ago. Today, it's more like $8. Average labor was $10, now it's $20. So I feel like the shortage of labor, the price of labor, the price of real estate, it's just getting higher and higher every day. So I don't see any vendors at scale making product in US in our industry. Now, wax, maybe it's much easier, but to your point, the packaging, which is a big part of it, is coming from overseas. So I think it's going to be, Mexico was our safest bet because there's a lot of labor there, but they have their own issues. And, it's, so I personally think Made in America will help hopefully high value item in electronics, maybe in air conditioning or cars, but in our industry it'll be very rough, including apparel. I think it'll be very tough.
Well, let's not forget it hits every single industry and every single person. The car wash is more expensive because the labor there is also $20 an hour that used to be 10 or 15 or whatever it was. The restaurants you're going to, or we also have a restaurant. Restaurant is being decimated by the cost of not just eggs, everybody talked about eggs, but every single thing is going up, and it's going up so quickly that we have to have somebody in the kitchen monitoring expenses all the time in a fashion that we never did before, and it's just creeping up. And last night, Warren and I were discussing, how much do you spend to go out for dinner? Remember when you could go out for dinner for $50-$60 a head and thought that was kind of pricey? Well, those days are gone, and it's all part of the same package. So we have to remember it's not just us, and it's not just our Christmas ornaments, and the fact that nobody in America is going to paint Rudolph's nose red on 3 million little pieces. It's every aspect of our economy is being attacked.
And we're not going back to $9.99 bottles of wine, right?
We might have to, Warren, but now they're going to cost us 20, so we'll feel better about it.
This is true. You mentioned Made in America. Does that mean anything to a shopper? Does it cause them to buy that product?
I have found that Made in America means a tremendous amount to the shopper until the price bothers them. Then they throw that flag down, run across it, and buy something that is made in China. And that has happened consistently every time there's a big Made in America push. It's great till they see how much it's going to cost.
I 100% agree. I mean, I think shopper wants the best value if it's Made in America. Now, where I think Made in America does make a positive impact in custom upholstery. You have lots of customization options. That part of it, the convenience, I think, but...
Well, the shipping time in custom upholstery is really important to have it made in the U.S.
That's right. green impact. People want to buy green product, but don't want to pay a penny more for it. So I think it's Made in America falls in the same camp. If the value is there, yes, but no one is paying premium for
It follows, that same theory follows through products that support a cause. We often have vendors who tell us, oh, well, you should buy this because it's helping this, this, and this. My customer, by the time they get into our store, isn't looking for that. They're looking for that bracelet. If it happens to help somebody, that's dandy. But unless there's a special event, it's never the deciding factor. So I don't think Made in America is going to be that much stronger than it was before.
If all things equal, it's great, but all things better be equal.
Doug, do you have retailers come in and say, show me made in the USA product, or really it doesn't factor in?
I can't, 3 showrooms, multiple years. I can't remember 10 times that's happened in total since we've been around. It's if we have a great company, right? If you're a great supplier and you're USA made, it's a plus. It's not like it's not a plus, and a lot of it's the timing and the customization, things like that. But we don't have people walk in and say this is what we're doing. We had one store, experimental idea, they had multiple one operation, but multiple stores, and they were going to do a Made in America initiative, and that worked fairly well. But I think it was their location and their circumstance and how well they planned it, and it was a lot of customization. So we do see that.
Well, I know in High Point and here and a couple of weeks ago in Dallas, you saw some companies putting on their showroom windows, made in the USA, proudly made in the USA, whatever jingoistic language they used. Are any of your companies promoting that as a selling point?
For sure, in the turmoil, with all the uncertainty, basic uncertainty has been the word of the year so far. But so if they have a USA, they'll put a USA flag up there. They'll say this portion of our line is made in the States, or we have no changes in price because we're a domestic supplier. Particularly, we see that all the time in the home fragrance business. That's the main spot we see it, and a lot of it has to do with consistency, timing. All those factors that retailers really need, because they're replenishment items, so it is important the speed at which they deliver.
Okay. We'll do a quick poll. Regardless of what you do for a living, as a shopper, how many people would pay 10% more for a product that was made in the U.S. versus one that was not? How many? More than? So, couple, but mostly not so much. So. Okay.
It also depends on the item.
Okay.
And frankly, a lot of people don't notice what they're paying for stuff. They just buy it. But I think as people's budgets become impacted by every part of the rest of their lives, they might be a little fussier about whether they're going to spend $12 for a $5 Christmas gift.
Okay. So we'll get a little more into Christmas in a minute, but you got two seasons coming up first, back to school, which has really started, and less so in the gift industry, but somewhat, and then Halloween. So Doug, with your companies, are you seeing shortages of back to school and Halloween merchandise?
So it's a big variation. We had some people that discontinued product, didn't hit certain seasons. There were people that didn't do their back to school at all, just because of the timing of when those shipments were coming in. We had about 20% or so of total Halloween goods canceled. It's in that range, everybody knew ahead of time. Back in April or so. So people have readjusted their purchasing. Our general view on this is nobody's really seen it yet. So we haven't, our retailers were very unaware. I did a video and I had all these people say, when is all this coming into effect? And I said, you're not going to see much until June, July earliest, just because of the timing of when those shipments come across. So people put policies in place, but you weren't retailing those goods yet about when those policies came into effect. So I think this is the first time we're going to really see it. And the shortages are going to show up. We don't know who they are. I mean, sometimes this market itself, when you look around, this has been the first time for a lot of people. They're like, oh, there's some people not shipping. There's some people not even open. So that's where you're going to get hit with. We've been warning about the supply a lot. We've been talking about it. Make sure your best suppliers, make sure you have a lot of goods from the best companies with the best SKUs, because you don't know who's going to deliver on time or at all.
Absolutely, 100%. You can never go wrong by having extra stuff on that solid core product. We're also noticing the difficulty of getting our displays together, because we should be getting ready to launch Halloween the beginning of August. We don't have the goods yet. Stuff that should have been in our warehouse in June has not hit our dock. So that's going to drive everybody in the back room crazy. Plus the higher math of figuring out, where is the tariff? Is it in a line item on the bottom that has to be backed up? Is it in the product, SKU by SKU? And each vendor is doing it as he or she thinks is the best way. So it's very confusing, right. And we have to retrain our receiving staff.
Right, and just one thing to add, you were making this point before about the vendors that are doing such a good job. I do have to compliment them for doing that job, because I'm not sure everybody really knows the cash differentials that were necessary to bring goods in. So tariffs are due at the dock when they come in. So when that hit, that's a cash need. People's cash needs in their budgets were tripled, quadrupled, some 10x. So if you see product getting discontinued, they're not bringing something in that's like an average seller. A lot of times that's because the cash restraints change dramatically with a tariff, because the tariff's paid right then, before you bring it in, before you have a chance to sell it, before the terms exist, all that stuff. It's pressure.
And the tariffs are charged, as you said, when the goods get here at whatever the rate is that day, right?
For the most part, unless there's some change in the rule, which we kind of don't know. Yeah. So I was in a meeting this morning where people are walking through. A section of product, they don't know what's going to happen until they get to the customs agent. They're like, it's either going to be 10 or 30 or 50. I'm not sure the number until we get to the dock.
And as much as we appreciate the big companies who are helping float all this, we can't lose sight of the many small companies, the little mom and pop guy that has one container coming for which they mortgage their house, and all of a sudden that container is 30, 40, some incredible amount more, $50,000 more than they expected, and that's the end of that little business.
Yeah, the one thing I want to add is, and great point, every wholesaler that you work with, they have to put extra cash to get the product. Now the smaller ones, now the financial banks now, I mean, we're blessed, but I know many friends in the industry, the bankers are saying we're not going to renew your credit line because you're not a segment that we want to have a higher exposure. So this is a time that I think vendors have supported all of you guys. This is the time you all ought to support all your smaller vendors. And I feel like we have been numb through a lot of pain from 2007, 8, the Great Recession, to COVID, whiplash we all face. So we have been numb, but this is a pretty interesting time and a slow pain. So, fast pain you recognize, right? The famous example, if you put
it's some form of relentless torture kind of pain.
Relentless torture?
Drip.
Yeah, but I do feel like this is the time that we all need to work together. It's not about, as a wholesaler, I understand my manufacturer's concern, but I also see my retailer's concern. And this is a time that for us to be a true American and fight it together versus we don't know what politicians are doing and it's above what we can do. But this is a time our industry really need all of us to work together and solve this together.
Yeah, the other thing is just policy-wise, we try not to get into too much of like what the policy is, why, and all those kinds of things. I will say this though, we learned this in 08, 09, we learned it in COVID. Large agencies, large bureaucracies, the government is one, other large corporations tend to not really understand how small business works. I shouldn't say tend. They don't understand how small business works. So they therefore, they're saying stuff, well, banks, we're going to talk to the banks about getting looser with credit. That's not something that happens with any kind of small business. I mean, at our scale, we still get pressure from our bank. They're like, why did the shipping numbers go down last month? And I'm like, did you watch the news last week? But so a lot of this comes from good intent on trying to get some important industries back to the States. But I think our space just tends to suffer for that because they don't understand how it works. Like I tell people about the cash flow needs and they're shocked. I mean, they don't believe me. I have to show it to them. I have to write it out. and say, this is actually what happens.
And the sad part is iPhone is tariff-free right now. The thing that we should be making, there's no tariff because Tim Cook got a lot of, our industry gets forgotten. And so it's just insane.
Well, the crazy thing is that there are tariffs on avocados, and the U.S. does not grow avocados.
We're going to grow those next to the bananas.
Next to the bananas, okay. The most creative solution I've heard about a company dealing with tariffs, there's a company that does music supplies, instruments, and they were hit with a $120,000 tariff bill that they weren't expecting. And the owner of the company paid it with 1.2 million American Express points. And he cashed in his entire American Express balance to pay for tariffs. Interesting solution, but I don't know about you, I don't happen to have 1 million American Express points, so it's a one-time only solution. Mary Liz, you mentioned Halloween. When do you panic about Halloween? Last
When do I panic about Halloween?
I mean, last Tuesday or?
Oh, I've been panicking for a long time, but it doesn't do me any good, so I'm trying to tone down the panic and go, oh, that's orange. I can put that on the display. That's black. Let's use that. Oh, my God, that looks almost like a scared cat. I think that works. So we'll just see what's going to happen, and we were a little bit supply constrained with Halloween anyway. We didn't find as much product in January before this mess really ramped up. We didn't find as much product as we wanted then. So we're still searching way beyond our general parameters from our Halloween stuff. But we'll just put it all out and put a witch hat on and hope for the best. And I'm going to cast a few spells.
And you're damn good at that, too. Doug, is it, in your lines, is it too late for Halloween? I mean, is anybody showing it this week? And can they still deliver?
There's quite a bit of stock out there. You just have to search a little bit. So the total number of people, I wouldn't say the top SKUs from the top companies are available in any capacity.
Our standards are lowering rapidly.
You're right. I think you can, if it's a really solid company, I think you can, we always say this when stuff gets tough like this, you can dip down into the 30%, the 30, 40%. Normally you try to buy the top 10, top 20, but you can dip down into the 30, 40% range from a great supplier you have. It's not like it's that much different. It's just you like the one a little better. So you're going to have to maybe acquiesce a little bit on having exactly what you want. But there'll be some supply from the best people.
And it will cost more, right?
In general, Halloween is up, yes. Most of the seasonal suppliers that really do that business, because they booked that early, have a tariff surcharge on it rather than a price increase. So they held the price on their original catalog. So that catalog was already published. So that price is still the price, but then you get a tariff surcharge. And just so you know, they do that mostly for the retailers who don't want to mark up the surcharge, right? They're taking the markup on the product cost, but just adding the surcharge, but not marking up the surcharge, if that makes sense.
And is that what retailers should be doing?
I think you have to take it on an item-by-item, line-by-line basis. On some items you can mark it up a little bit more. On some items you can't, but it puts us back to the very beginning of what do I have to pay for this and how much can we get for it.
We wouldn't recommend going from, if you have a really unique price point that works for you, let's say it's $99.50 or whatever it is, I wouldn't recommend going to $107 or some number like that.
The other thing is there's no global answer. You can't do the same thing with every vendor. It's all starting over again.
And what are you seeing the range of the surcharges in your lines, Doug? The range as a percentage on surcharges?
It's probably going to be the same as Mary Liz's answer. I think it's 4.8 to 18 the range right now.
Okay. And the 4.8 is a little voodoo or it's real?
I'm not sure they use some kind of formula. And
I believe asking questions about that is a real mistake. You should take your lucky 4.8%, run.
Right. Right. So I'd say the average, if you're heavy seasonal, so you have no goods when the tariffs hit, those are the largest surcharges, right? And it makes sense. They have no blended rate. They have nothing in their warehouse. They had nothing to do. You have to offset the whole amount. So those would be the people you'd see that are, say, at 15 or 18 or a number like that. They're usually almost pure seasonal. If they're blended, they're generally 10-ish.
But as you said, it depends on the product. I was talking with a fellow who does a real promotional small kitchen appliance that retails for $9.99, and it's out of China, and they tested it, taking it up to $12.99, which was their cost structure, and they said their sales were off 60%, and they immediately took it back to $9.99 and ate the difference.
Right, and that brings up a good point. So we do see a major differential in the companies that have a range of markups versus someone who has a strict MSRP that you see across the web and all the different retailers. So if you have a strict MSRP and you're in a super competitive space like that, generally they've been just kind of eating it and trying to get through the year. So the MSRP decision has to get made before they're bringing the product in. A company that just has a lot of SKUs where the markup depends on the geography of where it ships to or how they're handling it or anything like that. They don't have to make that decision at the time it lands. The MSRP companies, if it's in Amazon, on their own site, across all the retail community, they are generally having to make that decision ahead of time.
And there's some quiet markups that we don't even know about. I was talking to one big housewares vendor, and he was telling me he's got one item that's one of his best-selling items, and it could easily be $1 or $2 more at retail. So if he adds 50 cents or a buck to that item, he sells enough of those to cover the tariffs on a lot of the rest of his line. So some vendors are going through their lines SKU by SKU to see where they can lift a margin to float the boat for the rest of them.
Yeah, again, we sat there with people this morning, and they said they're going through, and probably you see this, the higher priced items, it's easier, right? So they're walking through and they're saying, I'm gonna add this on this higher priced item so that I can keep my lower priced items at this massive turn price point.
Which is the way we're handling it too. We're marking up some things and keeping some things with lower margins.
And Satya, as you said, with your more higher priced products like furniture and better rugs, you're able to finesse that a little better?
Yeah, I think to both of your points, we're looking at the whole business. It's not every product has to make the exact same margin. If it's a $10,000 rug and if you pay 10% tariff, it's a lot easier to digest that than if it's a $100 rug. So we are looking at, as a partnership with our retailer, with our design community, how do we balance it out? Going to your point, there's a t-shirt company. They were selling lots of t-shirts at $20. When they made it $24, they didn't sell any. A small amount. So we're looking at certain product, we just got to price it aggressively, not make as much or minimal margin, and certain product we think we can do it more. And then special order, right? Rugs comes in many colors, many sizes. The key sizes, we're being aggressive. Some of the special order, we can get a little extra margin on that. So we're looking at the whole portfolio of SKUs. And also, if we increase the business, our overheads get normalized, right? So it's not just about tariff. How do we become 5% more efficient in our operation? How do we get more productivity? So we're also looking at this as a perfect opportunity for us. During COVID, we had different problem. You hire anyone with any skill, we just need bodies, you need product.
We found that if they could fog a mirror during COVID, we'd hire.
That's right. So now we reverse of that. Hey, every % we can save in productivity, we can pay the government in tariff. So we're looking at areas of how we become better at what we do, which hopefully long term it will help all of us, the entire ecosystem.
Well, these disasters always help us long term. It's the short term situation that's. Today I was placing an order in a really well run showroom with a lot of SKUs, and he scanned every single item I was interested in. He said, "We tagged all this in time for the show, but we're not entirely sure. So we're scanning it to make sure that the price you see here is what we're really reflecting right now." And this isn't some little fly-by-night company. It's just also volatile that it. So it gets back to my other analysis. I don't know.
That's probably the best answer, yes. Satya, I didn't ask you about Halloween rugs or Christmas rugs. Your business obviously less seasonal, right?
Not at all. We do some scatters, but mostly it's non-seasonal. Now, back to school is big for us. Several milestones, are big, but it's not a seasonal business for us.
Okay. So we talked about back to school, we talked about Halloween. Christmas is kind of the elephant in the room, the red and green elephant in the room. Doug, do your company still have Christmas goods to sell, or is that a mirage?
That's erratic. So there are companies with product to sell that just took the risk and just said, "I'm bringing in the whole lot." But more people drifted to a made-to-order style, or they got rid of underperforming SKUs. So they're going to have less general availability. The biggest thing is the people we haven't heard from is who we're worried about. So if you go in and they say they have Christmas available and it's a reliable supplier you've used before, I would expect that to be a completely legit answer. There's other people we haven't even heard what their timing is yet. Like, we're not getting updates on timing. It's erratic.
And would you expect that they would have the goods here now, or that window is closing rapidly, right?
So I would say most would not have it here right at the moment. It's probably on the water, or
It should have been here.
Should have been here, but that's most. There are companies that have it all here. So if you got really aggressive, you had to get really aggressive. For anybody who says it's here now, if they're 90% in stock right now, they were extremely aggressive in the time that the tariffs were 145, which was really risky to do. So if you waited till after the 145 stopped, you're on the water in general.
But in a normal year, which this is certainly not, the goods would be here now, and they'd be moving through the...
Yeah, July would be the top ship month for holiday in a regular year.
Okay. And Mary Liz, when would you normally expect to receive your Christmas deliveries?
60 days ago. We should have started getting it in May and in June and processing it so it's ready to put out.
And
June is over now, by the way.
June, I think so. Yeah, I noticed that. What's your best estimate, and how much as a percentage of what you would normally have in the store for Christmas? I'm asking this question asked backwards, but how much of your normal Christmas inventory will you have this year?
I'm hoping for 80%, but I don't know what I'm actually going to get. And I'm just basing that on what we ordered and what we think we're going to get. But to Doug's point, we don't know what's going to show up from the orders that we placed. And on the big guys, we have a pretty good idea, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate them, especially the ones that are, I know I keep saying it, but I really mean it. On the little guys and a lot of the fun stuff, some of it's just not going to show up. But we don't know what, and they can't tell us what because, Doug was saying he doesn't have answers from people. They just don't know what to say because they're trying to figure out, do I sell the lake house? Do I mortgage the house again? I can't get it from the bank. How am I going to make this business stay afloat for this year? And a lot of us don't have the answers.
I probably should have said this at the beginning on the seasonal side. We were only about 5 to 8 days away from almost nobody getting anything. Because that's the 145 was sitting on there. You couldn't ship at 145. That was basically an embargo. So, and that's the exact timing of when stuff had to leave. So there were companies making decisions. We had dates from multiple big suppliers saying, if it doesn't get settled by this next Friday, we can't ship. And that's how close we were when that went back down to 30. But it was that.
But very reasonable, 30%. That's the sad part is we think that's not so bad. It's horrible.
I know. It's pretty bad. But it was really dangerously close. We were doing all our budget estimates, all the stuff, because we have a lot of employees. So we're sitting there going, okay, we're going to be down 30% if we get past this date because of all the pre-book stuff we do. So that's what we were looking at. It got really close. It was less than 10 days away from major cancellations.
And did some companies bring in product at 145% duty?
Yes.
And what in the world are they doing with their pricing then?
So several people we had found bonded warehouses. So they brought them in and put them in bonded warehouses, which allows you to not pay the tariff until it's released from the bonded warehouse. So we had people do that. Other people just said, I have to at least get these few containers in or I'm not going to be able to complete the assortments that already have shipping, and they're just blending it and trying not to lose too much money. We were doing the exercise with vendors saying this is how much you can lose per item and stay in business this year. So we had like all those meetings in April.
A lot of meetings, yeah. And I understand the bonded warehouse guys got smart and jacked up their prices and their rates too, right?
Astronomical. I think it tripled. Most of the West Coast ones tripled. You could get, sometimes if it was associated with your warehouse you use regularly, so if you were a large company and it was associated, you could keep the rate down.
Okay, so we talked about all these logistics and all the stuff that's going on at the wholesale level. What do we think is the mood of the consumer as they come into holiday? I realize that's a prediction that's difficult to make, but we're starting to see some declines in consumer confidence. We're starting to see some economic indicators showing that this is starting to hit consumers. So, Mary Liz, what do you expect your shoppers what kind of mood are they going to be in December?
Well, I think they're going to be in the kind of mood they are now, where they're upset, they're worried, but they're still shopping. And being the kind of an independent store where it's fun to go and it's part of a family, people come to us because they're depressed. And even if they don't buy anything, they just come to look for a laugh and pet the dog and do that kind of stuff. So I think we're going to see people, I know we're going to see people shopping, but I think people will have to restrict their budgets because their budgets are being hit on every line item in your house, from your bananas and avocados to the car payment. So I think I know we're going to have Christmas. I expect it to be weaker. So maybe these smaller shipments are going to work out just fine for me.
Yeah.
But I'm projecting down.
Yeah, we haven't seen it show up yet. So in general, on replenishment items, we have not seen the consumer slowdown show up in any capacity, but it's mostly because I don't think it's hit yet. Our look at it is this. We thought we were set up for a great year before all this happened. So you're offsetting all those good demographic things that were kind of in the go forward for 2025, and then you're offsetting it with this uncertainty. So you're going to have a degree of up and down. So it's going to be super hard to predict Q4, really hard.
And it's just impossible to figure out at this point, right? Satya?
I think I agree with both of these guys. No one knows. I feel like it's not a bloodbath out there. People are still spending. They may be spending less. Now, every line item, from your coffee to your milk, everything is up. But I do feel like unemployment rate is one of the lowest. If you have a job, you're making more today than ever before. If you have made some wise decision, you bought a house or you have a rent, things are, for the first time, rents are going down across everywhere. Price of housing is going down. The cost of interest rate is stabilized. It's not the 2-3% that we used to. So I feel like it's not, this is, of all the things that I have personally gone through from 2001, the dot-com bubble in 2000, that was my first year I was in Wall Street, I was working, to the Great Recession, obviously 9/11. This is not, it doesn't feel, there's a lot of erratic, uncontrolled, we don't know how to react, but it doesn't feel as bad as what we have gone through before. So it's...
Yeah, I'd say this business, very resilient overall, very fragmented, a lot of great independent retailers. In general, employment's the biggest thing we always see. So when you don't have a big employment problem, we don't usually see a major downturn. So it's usually what we see.
I'm expecting more of an employment problem, though, in the next few months, as we see so many healthcare things closing. And so many people like us who are trying to run a tight business, and we're giving shorter shifts and just watching the hours and watching all of our expenses so we can stay afloat. So I think for sure we're going to see some differences in the employment numbers.
And that is the key indicator, right? So, and you're right, we're not seeing it yet, but particularly your store in Michigan would be vulnerable, I would think, to the auto industry.
Well,
right?
I'm Irish. I look for the black side on everything, and I think that my predictions this time are probably going to come true.
All right, so we've got a few more minutes. This is why you came here, which is what's the best thing that people in the audience, people in the building, people on the earth should be doing to deal with this? I mean, any guidance, tips, suggestions? Doug?
Say, don't watch the news would be first. I mean, that would be the number one thing, especially business-wise. I mean, you have to do what you do really well, and you just keep doing it. So kind of stay calm and move on.
Yeah, for me, I think very similar. I was lucky enough to see Warren Buffett live 3 years ago when inflation was, someone asked him, what should we do to combat inflation? He says, nothing you can do, just do whatever you do to be best at it. If you're a musician, play the best music. If you are an interior designer, just serve your customer. So we tell our folks every day, our salespeople, let's just serve our customer better. Our designers, we tell them make the best design possible. I think just lean in, do what we're good at. Everything will, unless we get really unlucky, things will work out. Just keep doing what we're doing and just lean in into our ecosystem, and let's support each other as an industry.
Well, I think that's absolutely the approach, and we also have to remember that in the gift and home business, we're lucky because we exist for no intelligent reason except to make people's lives happier, their homes prettier, and their lives nicer. So what we do is more than just sell all the little junk we sell. People come to us for happiness. We did an analysis of what we actually sell in our store, and I realized that what we sell is the experience, the fun, and the joy. And if they leave smiling, we've been successful whether they leave with a bag that day or not. So we have to stay positive and remember that we do spread that joy and continue to try to spread it as thinly as we possibly can this season.
And the fact, Mary Liz, that you're doing a tequila tasting event at your restaurant?
The Three Faces of Tequila, Friday night.
Okay, so you're all invited,
We've had a big sellout for a Mexican dinner with a lot of tequila.
Okay. Okay.
Bring your own avocado, though.
Yes, bring your own.
Bring your own avocado. And one other thing that we didn't touch on in this, which we notice in our restaurant, is how important special events and things that bring the community together are to our stores. When we do a girls' night out, when we do a fashion show, when we do something that brings the shoppers together and gives them a little fun, that has really made big differences in our businesses. So for anybody with a retail store who can figure out how to have a party, how to serve a cookie, how to do just about anything to make your customers happier, it absolutely pays off.
Okay, as I said, this is being recorded and will be up on the Ann Moore site later today, later this week. So if anything that we said was particularly brilliant and you want to reference it, you can do that. Any questions, comments? We'll be here for a few minutes if you want to discuss one-on-one, but most of us have to go back to our day jobs. So if there's nothing else particularly, thank you to all you guys, and I guess we'll get through this, or we won't. But either way, it keeps things interesting.
We may be bruised, we may be battered, but we'll live to fight another day.
Did you just make that up?
Yeah, I did.
Wow, that's good. Isn't that the Michigan fight song? Anyway, thank you all for coming, and have a good rest of the week and a good market and a good holidays. Thanks.